Look up tonight and you'll see it. The same glowing rock our ancestors stared at, wondered about, and told stories to for 100,000 years. The moon. It's the farthest any human being has ever traveled. And here's the strange part. We went there. We walked around. We hit golf balls, planted flags, and drove little buggies across the dust. And then we just stopped. For over 50 years, not one single person has set foot on the moon. But that's about to change, because the moon is no longer just something to visit. It's something we want to live on. This is the case for a moon base, and why the next few years could change everything. Let's rewind. Between 1969 and 1972, 12 people walked on the moon. 12, all American, all within about 3.5 years. The last was a man named Gene Cernan on the Apollo 17 mission in December of 1972. Before he climbed back into the lander, he took the last human step on the moon that anyone has taken to this day. Think about that. The last person to walk on the moon did it before the internet, before cell phones, before most of the world even had color TV. Now, you might have heard we finally went back. And in a way we did. In April of 2026, NASA's Artemis II mission flew 4 astronauts around the moon and safely home, the first crew to leave Earth's orbit in more than 50 years. But here's the catch. They didn't land. They looped around and came home. So the record still stands. No human has touched the surface since 1972. The big question is why? This is where it gets interesting. Because the answer isn't what most people think. Here's a fun one that's floated around the internet for years. That we lost the technology. That NASA misplaced the blueprints for the mighty Saturn V rocket and simply forgot how to get there. And believe it or not, there's a tiny seed of truth buried in that myth. The Saturn V was never kept in production, and some of the original Apollo tapes really were recorded over by accident. But forgot how. Not quite. The knowledge never vanished. The rocket just stopped being built. Then there's the spicier theory, the one whispered in documentaries with dramatic music, that the astronauts saw something up there, that they were quietly warned off, or found something they weren't meant to find. It's a great campfire story. There is zero evidence for it. But it's fun. So what's the real reason? Money and politics. The Apollo program cost the equivalent of more than $250 billion in today's money. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We didn't go to the moon purely for science. We went to beat the Soviet Union. It was a race, and the moment we won it, the public lost interest. The budgets dried up, and the rockets stopped flying. We had the ability the entire time. We just stopped choosing to. But now we're choosing again. And this time we don't want to visit. We want to stay. Here's why. It turns out the moon isn't just a dead gray rock. Hidden inside the permanently shadowed craters near its south pole is something incredibly precious. Water ice. And water isn't just for drinking. Split it apart and you get oxygen to breathe. And hydrogen, which happens to be rocket fuel. That turns the moon into a cosmic gas station. A place to refuel on the way to Mars and beyond, without hauling every single drop all the way up from Earth. And there's more. The lunar soil holds rare earth metals, precious platinum group metals, and a rare form of helium, helium-3, that could one day help power fusion reactors. Whoever gets there first doesn't just plant a flag, they help write the rules for how all of it gets used. Which is exactly why this has become a new race, with China aiming to build a base near that very same South Pole by 2035, alongside Russia and a growing list of partner nations. Suddenly, the moon has some very valuable real estate. Now picture something a little more fun. A hotel on the moon? It sounds absurd, until you remember, people once said the same thing about flying across an ocean. With a permanent base, the moon becomes a destination. Imagine bouncing across the surface in 1/6 of Earth's gravity, where a gentle hop launches you meters into the air. Imagine standing in the lunar night, looking up, and seeing the entire Earth hanging in the black, glowing blue, small enough to cover with your thumb. The first lunar tourists will pay a fortune for that view. But every traveler after them makes it a little more ordinary, and a little more possible for the rest of us. And maybe the most important reason of all can't be measured in dollars. When Apollo 11 landed An entire generation of kids looked up and decided to become scientists, engineers, and dreamers. That one moment launched careers, inventions, and whole companies that shaped the world we live in today. A moon base does the same thing, but bigger and for longer. It's not one night of television. It's a permanent human outpost that a kid can watch grow up right alongside them. Ask them what they want to be, and some of them will answer. The first person to live on the moon. And they just might be right. Here's what makes this moment different from Apollo. Last time, it was one government against another. This time, private companies are leading the charge and competing hard. Elon Musk's SpaceX is building Starship, a towering, reusable rocket designed to haul enormous cargo and eventually people to the lunar surface. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin is developing its own lander, called Blue Moon. NASA has hired both, essentially telling them whoever's ready first flies. It's a genuine race between billionaires, rockets, and nations, and the finish line is a permanent home on the moon. The competition is fierce, the setbacks are real, but the direction is clear. We are going back, and this time to stay. For 50 years, the moon has been a place we visited once and left behind. For the next 50, it becomes a place we live, a gas station, a laboratory, a tourist stop, and a stepping stone to the rest of the solar system, all on that same glowing rock you can see from your backyard tonight. So the next time you look up, know that someone up there might just be looking back. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.